Here's a recap of all the 13 Vampire Diaries books. This doesn't include books based on the TV show. The Vampire Diaries started as a trilogy about a high schooler named Elena Gilbert. Elena tries to date a hot new student named Stefan Salvatore. Stefan's a vampire who is haunted by his tragic past and his evil brother Damon. Dark and scary things happen in town, like attacks and murder. Damon starts stalking Elena, and she can't help but feel attracted to him. Elena drinks so much vampire blood that when she dies in an accident, she becomes a vampire herself. Elena adjusts to her new life as things in town go completely out of control. In the grand finale, it's revealed the culprit is Catherine, the woman who turned Stefan and Damon into vampires 500 years ago. She was thought to be dead, but she's still alive. Elena nobly sacrifices herself to defeat Catherine and save the town. I thought the trilogy was okay. The story is dark and alluring, and there are exciting twists, like Catherine is still alive, and the teacher is secretly a vampire hunter. My main problem with the trilogy is Elena. I do not like her. She's an awful role model, constantly being mean and selfish for no reason. In any other series, she would be the villain. The only reason she goes after Stefan in the first place is she thinks she deserves to date the hottest guy in school. She cheats on him all the time without remorse. In fact, the first time she meets Damon, she makes out with him before even learning who he is. Yeah, she cheats on her boyfriend with a stranger who just happens to be his brother. The love triangle with the brothers is okay. I liked how the two brothers interacted with each other. That was much better done than other love triangles I've seen in soap operas and elsewhere, where the two love interests never talk. And of course, the vampire angle kept the series fresh. The books were so popular, they got a fourth book starring Elena's friends, and I thought this book was excellent. Switching the main character was a big improvement for me. It's a good thing all the other characters are well developed. Bonnie is a humorous girl with strong psychic powers. Meredith is the level-headed one with a dark past. Matt is an all-around good guy. When the town comes under a new threat, they work together with Damon and Stefan to save everyone. It ends up being a dual threat, Tyler the werewolf and Klaus, the man who turned Catherine into a vampire. There's an epic battle where our heroes defeat the villains, and Elena comes back to life without any explanation at all. 17 years later, they released another Vampire Diaries trilogy to coincide with the release of the TV show. This trilogy was a complete mess. The main problem is that the books are 600 pages long, when they should have been 200 to 300 pages long, like the original books. The story is incredibly slow and unnecessarily long. It's like wading through a word salad at many points. It takes forever for anything to happen. Most of it could have been cut out entirely. Elena wakes up as an amnesiac angel and she makes out with all of her friends. It's weird. A week later, she returns to her normal self and everyone pretends nothing happened. That was 200 pages. A pair of kitsune demons come to town and possess all of the children, forcing them to do terrible things. They temporarily possess Damon until Elena saves him with her angel magic. The kitsune kidnap Stefan and hide him in a dark underworld. I thought the underworld was interesting, my favorite part of the trilogy, but our heroes spend way too much time dressing up and going to parties, like the fate of the world isn't at stake. It takes 350 pages before they even start looking for Stefan in the Let's Save Stefan book. There's also a ton of making out between Damon and Elena. Damon's temporarily turned into a human, Bonnie is temporarily kidnapped, and Meredith is revealed to be a vampire hunter, which is a great plot twist, even if her vampire hunting skills should have been revealed many books ago. They defeat the kitsune and save the town, but Damon dies. The trilogy ends on an unsatisfying note. Angels undo everything, so the entire series never happened. That is, angels go back in time to book one and change it all, so everything we read about never happened. I thought this trilogy was the worst one. Getting through it was painful at times. Although it had some legitimately good ideas, they were poorly executed, and the rest of the series mostly ignores this trilogy. The next trilogy was done by an anonymous ghostwriter. This caused a bit of a scandal among fans. The publishers didn't tell the author they hired a ghostwriter to replace her until after she had finished writing the next book. That was a major scumbag move. Our heroes adjust to their new world and fight a phantom that feeds on emotions, while Damon returns to life. They all go to college where over a dozen people are murdered. It takes our heroes an amazingly long time to investigate this supernatural threat. Bonnie worries it's her new werewolf boyfriend, but it's actually a fraternity of vampires led by Ethan. Ethan resurrects Klaus and Catherine, the worst villains of the series. Elena defeats Klaus with her guardian angel powers, which felt like a cheat. Her first power is complete invulnerability to supernatural attacks, and the second is her blood being poisonous to all original vampires. Elena could have done nothing, and Klaus would have died just the same. Elena's got magic powers to save her. I thought this trilogy was okay. I was way more interested in the secondary characters than the main ones. Elena's love triangle with the vampire brothers was tired and stale, in my opinion. For example, there's major drama when Stefan sees Elena make out with Damon. The effect was totally lost on me, because she's made out with Damon over a dozen times already. The final trilogy was written by Aubrey Clark. About 5 years later, our heroes fight a dangerous vampire named Solomon, who possesses a vampire hunter. Damon and Catherine come across a group of super vampires that can't die. Both Stefan and Catherine are killed. There's forced drama as Elena pretends she can't date Damon, even though we all know she will. Meredith joins the super vampires in order to learn their secret weakness. They avenge Stefan's death, and the threat is eliminated. The last book was really terrible. Oh man. So, it ruins everything. Elena goes back in time to the first book in the series in order to save a teacher's life. This is the second time they've hit the reset button to redo the series from the beginning. It's like the authors hate this series. Elena ignores the dozen easy ways she can fulfill her mission. She messes everything up because she can't stop making out with both brothers. In the end, she uses her knowledge of the future to change things, which is what she should have done from the start. The book skips ahead 7 years where she's living in Paris. It's implied she'll end up with Damon, and I'm sure she'll cheat on him pretty soon. The last book was terrible, but I like the other 2 books in the trilogy. If the last book had been just as good as they were, this could have rivaled the first trilogy in terms of quality. As it stands, here are my unofficial rankings of the trilogies, from best to worst. The original 4 books, the 3rd trilogy in the college, the 4th final trilogy, the 2nd trilogy with the Kitsune. Overall, I'd say this is a pretty good series with a pretty rocky reboot. I'm not a fan of vampires myself, but if you're majorly into hot vampires, I would definitely recommend these books. I can see why they became a super popular TV show. I think the stories did best when they stuck to storylines about fighting monsters, and it did worst when they endlessly rehashed the love triangle drama. And I very much like the minor characters. Here are my scores for all the books. Put them all together, and I give the Vampire Diaries series a 5.7 out of 10.